Unit 14. Part 1.
Do you prefer to work or study alone or in a group?
Studying alone is better than working in a group. I find that concentrating is much easier when there is no one around to distract me. In addition, when I'm studying with other people, I sometimes have to go back over lessons I have already covered. Therefore, it is less efficient for me.
Do you think group work is important?
Yes, I think group activities are very important. Since most people belong to organizations such as schools or companies, they often have to work with others. Therefore, knowing how to cooperate and interact with a variety of people can sometimes be the key to success.
When do you usually work in a group?
I most often work with other people when I have a presentation assignment for my management class. I usually have a couple of such projects per semester. Because they generally require a lot of work and research, 4 or 5 students are expected to work on them together.
Have you helped a stranger? Why?
Yes, I helped a lady who was struggling with a stroller on some stairs last month. She looked really tired and, at the same time, worried about her baby in the carriage. I went over to her and helped her move it because I thought it was the right thing to do.
What do you think about helping people?
Personally, I think that helping others is great. However, I also think that we need to be cautious because there are always people who try to abuse others' goodwill. We should be careful not to fall victim to such bad people's schemes and traps when doing good.
Do you like to share things?
I don't exactly like sharing, but I don't mind it when it is necessary. For instance, I'm reluctant to share food in general because I want to enjoy it myself. However, I'm fine with giving up my food if someone is really hungry.
What do you think about sharing accommodations?
I try to avoid it if possible. Even though having a roommate makes the rent cheaper, it is really inconvenient for me. Furthermore, I often invite friends to my place, which would probably bother anyone who lived with me.
Do you think sharing is important?
Sharing is very crucial in our lives. That's because it shows that you care about other people. By expressing that you care for others, you can build up and strengthen your relationships with them.
Part 2.
I've been involved in several group projects, but one project I did in my junior year comes to mind first. This project was an assignment for the acting class I took as an elective. Everyone in this class was required to produce a play and perform in it. My team performed Romeo and Juliet, and I played the lead role, Juliet. Of course, I got to work on the project with other students in the class. However, since the teacher randomly put all of the students into groups, I didn't know anyone on my team. Honestly, I was initially unhappy with the group. I wanted to work with at least one of my friends from class. However, as we practiced, we got acquainted and grew comfortable with one another. By the time of our performance, we were in perfect harmony, and no one made any mistakes. I was proud of what we'd accomplished. This experience taught me that practice makes perfect. We were awful in the beginning, but our hard work made us better. I also learned the importance of teamwork. Performing a play in front of many people seemed like an impossible mission, but thanks to our teamwork, we pulled it off.
Part 3.
What are the disadvantages of working in a group?
I think one of the biggest drawbacks is that ideas often clash when multiple people work together. With so many different opinions, group members must compromise when making decisions. If they cannot do this, conflicts can arise, and the group will not be able to make any progress. Not only that, But when an agreement cannot be reached, people sometimes say things that hurt one another's feelings.
What are the disadvantages of working alone?
There are multiple drawbacks to doing work on your own. To begin with, there is no one to back up decisions. People often like to discuss choices they might be unsure about and ask for advice. However, when you work alone, there is no one to give you this help. Furthermore, those who work on their own can suffer from a lack of ideas. Usually, the more people you work with, the more ideas you generate. But if you work alone, you only have your perspective to rely on.
Part 2.
I'd like to talk about the most memorable mistake I made in college. I was a freshman at that time, and it was the middle of midterm week. I decided to go out with my friends one night during the week. At the time, I didn't realize what a huge mistake this would be. We had a great time clubbing and dancing until 3 a.m., even though we had an exam the next morning. Unfortunately, I didn't roll out of bed until after the exam had started, so I missed it and got an F in the class. I was really angry with myself. I was supposed to be taking care of myself as an adult, but I couldn't even make it to class for an exam. I also felt guilty that I'd wasted the money my parents had paid for that class. After this incident, I learned several things. I learned to prioritize my studies above my social life. No matter what was going on, I never stayed out past midnight on weekdays. Also, if I had an exam the next day, I was asleep by midnight. This had a really positive impact on my academic performance, and I was able to graduate with respectable grades.
Part 3.
What can children learn from making mistakes?
By making mistakes, children learn not to repeat them. For instance, let's say a child is kicking a soccer ball around the house and breaks a vase. The child will likely feel bad and maybe be punished. Because of this, he will know to avoid such behavior in the future. In addition, making mistakes can teach children that no one is perfect and that everyone makes them. This will make them more understanding of other people. For example, they will tolerate the mistakes of others rather than make fun of them.
How should adults react to children's mistakes?
Adults can react to a child's mistake in a lot of different ways, but I'd say that they should identify the problem and guide the child to a solution. Since adults have more life experience, they should be able to do this. Plus, they should embrace mistakes as teachable moments. Instead of scolding or shaming the child, adults should use the opportunity to make sure the child learns a good lesson on what to do or not do in the future.